Hi everybody, it's Peter Dills. Right now I'm in San Diego, California. If you've been watching my segments for the past few years, you know I love champagne. So today we're switching gears a little bit. We're actually at a craft brewery right here in San Diego, Mission Brewery, and they make some delicious craft beers. In a couple seconds we're going to talk to the owner, Dan Selis, and he's going to take us step by step how he got involved in the craft beer business. But first, we better try the beer. Andy. That's good. On with the show. Dan, I think you've got a funny and a unique story on how this brewery got started.
This started 25 years ago when I was in college, and I was renting a house from this guy, and I asked him one weekend, just randomly, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And he said, I'm brewing beer. And 25 years ago, it wasn't very common to homebrew. And I looked at him and I said, you're brewing beer? That sounds radical. I want to do that. And he said, go buy the kit and the ingredients, and I'll come over and show you how to do it. So I went out, bought all the ingredients. He came over, taught me my first batch. So for the next 15 years, I brewed every month, sometimes every weekend. I started to enter competitions, started to win amateur competitions. And from there, I went through the beer judge certification program, became a certified beer judge, which really increased my beer knowledge to the point where I had the confidence to start Mission Brewery.
Really? I thought this was a college course that you took.
Yeah, well, it went into a few college courses, that's for sure.
The weekends, of course.
Right, of course.
All right, so give me a tour of the brewery. How is beer made?
Okay, sure, absolutely. The process starts from the barley that's in our silo. We use different types of barley. Some of the grains are roasted a little darker, chocolate, malt, crystal malts, etc. Depending on the recipe and the type of beer that we're making will depend on what kind of grains we're using. If it's a stout, there's a lot of dark malts. If it's an IPA, there's some crystal malts in it. From that point, it travels through an auger into our mash tun, where the grain is combined with hot water at just the right temperature to convert starches to sugars. We turn on sprinkle fountains over the top. It's called a sparge, which pulls the sweet juice out of the grain and pushes it into the kettle. At that point, we have what's called wort. We boil the beer for 60 to 90 minutes and add hops. Most beers are balanced between the sweetness of the malt and the bitterness of the hops. So adding the proper amount of hops into the kettle is very important. Too many hops, it's too bitter. Too few hops is too sweet. And again, depending on the type of beer that you're making, you want to have that balance just right. So in the kettle, we do our initial hopping that adds the bitterness. Midway towards the end, we add more hops, and that adds the flavor, hop flavor to the beer. And at the very end of the boil, we'll add more hops that adds aroma. From there, the beer gets pushed through a heat exchanger, cools it down into a fermenter, where we add yeast to ferment the beer. So different yeast strains depending on, again, the type of beer. The German yeast strain for an authentic Bavarian Hefeweizen, or an American yeast strain for the IPAs. After about a week, fermentation is complete. We can filter the beer and push it into a bright tank, which is the final step of the process. In the bright tank, we carbonate the beer and then can package it in bottles, kegs, and cans.
And
you're finished.
And speaking of the cans, you are the only craft beer company in the United States that is actually doing a 32-ounce can.
That's true. We had a canning machine that was built specifically for Mission Brewery, and right now, as far as I know, it is the only line of its type in existence.
And the end result?
Delicious beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey Jenny, what's going on?
Here.
Yeah, I'm here, and you know, the greatest thing about coming to a brewery is that some of the beers that you have on tap, in the bottles, in the cans, are not available yet for retail and for restaurants. So that's exciting to me.
Absolutely, such as our Cortez Gold Belgian style blonde ale. It was a very popular style in our tasting room, and we decided to offer it to the general public in 32-ounce cans. So Peter, just remember, this is a working brewery, and people can come right into our tasting room and enjoy all these wonderful beers.
That's Jenny from Mission Brewery. I'm Peter Dills, and we're signing off from the Mission Brewery here in San Diego.